What is up, all of my horror fanatics out there? Welcome back to Late Night Frights. I'm the Late Night Frights horror leader, the J. Sloan or Jordan, back here to do another video for you. And as always, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. Well, not this evening because I'm shooting this video in the day, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Last week we did horror battles, and you already know that we're doing a theme this week. And as everyone has already done, we are doing our top 10 favorite horror sequels theme. Now, before I dive in and show you my top 10 list, I just want to thank Mike for trading days with me and doing Monday. Monday was a busy day for me and I was unable to do it, so I'm here on Saturday to do my video. Next week we'll be back on regular schedule, so yeah, just wanted to let everyone know that. So we've done some top 10 listed themes here before on Late Night Frights. I don't think we did a top 10 horror sequels list. I created the channel, but it's been many years, 3 years, so there's tons of videos. I don't think we did a top 10 favorite horror sequels, but we might have. But anyway, everyone's given some great lists. Now it is my turn to chime in and show you my top 10 list. So I'm going to go from 10 to 1, least to greatest, and without further ado, let's get this started. So coming in at number 10 is a film that used to be higher up in my list, but as I've gotten older, I've noticed many flaws with this movie. That doesn't mean that I don't still love it, because I do, and I always will love this movie, but still there's some major flaws within it, and it is Halloween H2O, which I believe was made in 1998, 1978, 1998, 20 years later. One directed by Steve Miner, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, reprising her role as Laurie Strode, and introducing Josh Hartnett, I believe. It's also got LL Cool J in there. For some reason LL Cool J is in this film, as well as Busta Rhymes in Resurrection, which I don't know. I don't know why, but we're not going to stay on that. So one of the main reasons that it's number 10 on my list, I've noticed a lot of flaws, and one of them being that it feels very 90s, which was made in the 90s. I mean, you can't really get around that. I mean, you can if you make an 80s vibed horror film, or even 70s. But it feels a lot like Scream, and I've started to notice that as I've gotten older. And that was the time era that Scream was released, and the neo-slasher started coming out, and it's really hard for me to blame them over that. That's one of the main flaws, is it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie, but in a lot of ways it does. I mean, it does have an October-ish feel to it. One thing that took me out of it was it wasn't set in Haddonfield, Illinois, which is not really ideal because it's a Halloween film. But, another thing is the mask changing. It takes me out of the movie now that I can notice it. It really does in a lot of ways. I notice this now, and every time I watch this movie, I see the CG mask, I see the different masks, and it really takes me out of it. The acting was good. Jamie Lee Curtis, as always, does a great job. I really love the ending of the film, where the hunted becomes the hunter. I love that. Josh Hartnett did a good job in this. It wasn't a bad acted film. The vibe really is what killed it for me, but I still love it. It's one of my dad's personal favorites, and it's one that I watched a lot as a kid. So Halloween H2O comes in at number 10. Okay, so number 9 is it's a really good sequel. It had to come in at number 9, though, not up there in the higher ones on my list, but I really do enjoy this sequel a lot. It's a sequel to a Stephen King adapted film. This is one that wasn't, written by Stephen King. This is just its own sort of sequel, and it is Pet Sematary 2, starring Edward Furlong. I've always enjoyed this one. I like Edward Furlong in a lot of movies he's been in. Terminator 2, American History X. He's not done much recently. It's also got Clancy Brown in it, who plays Gus from Highlander. He's also in a bunch of other films. He's in The Shawshank Redemption as well. He usually plays the bad guy in every movie that he's in, and he definitely plays a psychotic character in this one. It's got, Anthony Edwards, who plays Chase Matthews, Edward Furlong's father. Really good story, though. I like it. It feels a lot different than the original. I would give it that, and it really took its own shape as being a film, and it didn't follow the same formula that the original did. A lot of really cool scenes in this one. Gus was really awesome when he gets bit and that whole thing happens. I won't spoil it just in case you haven't seen Pet Sematary 2. I like the story. Was it as good as the original? Not to me, no, but I still really enjoy it. So Pet Sematary 2, won't spend too much time on that one. Yeah, really, really love Pet Sematary 2 as well. Coming in at number 8 is a horror, I guess you could say horror comedy sequel. This is one I grew up on as well, and it is Leprechaun 3 in this 3-pack here. It is very, very cheesy, but it is one that I grew up on, guys. Leprechaun in Vegas. You can't get much better than that. And I know a lot of people love this movie, surprisingly. You would think Leprechaun in Vegas, Leprechaun 3, not many people would like it. The one that gets shit on the most out of the franchise is In Space, Leprechaun in Space, which I don't like that movie either, so I can understand the hate. Love it. Warwick Davis reprising his role as Leprechaun as he did in every film but Origins, which I have still not seen. Really like it. I like the character of Scott, how getting bit starts turning him into a leprechaun as well. Very, very cheesy storyline. I like Caroline Williams being in this movie. It's got some good actors in it. It's not one of those that you can take seriously. It's Leprechaun, which Leprechaun in general being a story, the original is the most serious out of the franchise, and that's like Child's Play. I feel like after a few films, they really just started to say, fuck it, it's about a leprechaun, let's go all out. But the third film in this one, even over 2, I love Part 3, guys. One I grew up on, I know a lot of people do as well. So, Leprechaun 3, awesome. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea for sure, but yeah, I like it a lot. Love it a lot, I guess I should say. The next one is Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. I don't know what attracts me to this sequel so much. I really like Corey Feldman being in this movie, and everything about it. I like how they take it away from the camp aspect of the films that had been up until, obviously the fourth sequel, 1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3 are great sequels as well. Sadly, they didn't make the cut of my list because the final chapter is my favorite film out of the franchise. It's also starring Crispin Glover, which is funny to see him in this one. It's got some damn good kills. That's one thing I can say about the Friday the 13th films. Although they're not my favorite, the kills are fucking fantastic. Like in almost every movie, very creative, very bloody, and very gory. And the effects are awesome. And like every Friday the 13th movie, but a few. But I really love the first 6 Friday the 13th movies. Everyone, hates Part 5 as well, which that would have been on my list, but Part 4, had to make the cut, seeing as it is my favorite horror, favorite sequel out of the Friday the 13th franchise. Love everything about it. The ending, Corey Feldman playing the role, I can't believe I forgot his name, Tommy Jarvis, playing the role of Tommy, I think the best portrayal of Tommy, in my opinion. There's 3. Corey Feldman plays the first, can't remember the guy's name in Friday 5 or Friday the 13th Part 6. Although the guy in Friday the 13th Part 6 who played Tommy also played a character in the Return of the Living Dead. So, great sequel, my favorite out of the franchise. It's very rare that a sequel actually beats out the original in a franchise, in my opinion, but that one does. I love the original, don't get me wrong, but Part 4 to me is the best out of the franchise. I don't know what it is. Next is coming in, let's see, we've got 4 here, 10, 9, 8, 7. Coming in at number 6 is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. So this one was really cool because it brings Heather Langenkamp back to her role as Nancy, and it also has a really awesome plot. Coming off of the failure of Part 2, and I will say failure because a lot of people consider it like it was, and me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the second film either, but this one really brought the franchise back. But it also added a lot of things that went wrong with the franchise as well, like comedy. But, it is what it is. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, great plot. I love the kids being in the mental asylum and always, all of them having the same dreams, the same problem, seeing Freddy Krueger. No one can understand them. They try to sedate them. Nancy comes back and she knows exactly what's going on. Love the plot, love the kills, love everything about this movie. It's also got what's her name? Brings John Saxon back as well. It also has Patricia Arquette, who unfortunately doesn't reprise her role in The Dream Master. So, but still great sequel out of the franchise. One of my favorites. So that's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Coming in at number 5 is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. Yes, 2 Nightmare films back to back. This one to me has to beat out Part 3 because it's one that I watched as a kid, one we had on VHS, one of the only ones we had on VHS, and I love this movie, guys. The 80s vibe in this movie is just crazy. I love the soundtrack, I love the kills. Robert Englund definitely gets a little bit more comedic with his role as Freddy in this one, but it works for this film. I really like Alice and the female who plays Alice. Drawing a blank here. Let's see. I know her name, guys. It's just one of those times where it's not coming to me right now. I know her name, it's just not coming to me right now, and I do apologize for that. But I like the female who plays Alice, and I like everything about this one, guys. 80s vibe. The scene where there is one problem with this movie. The scene where the dog pisses on the grave and pisses fire and the ground opens up, that is a little bit stupid. That is a little bit dumb. But once again, this is the sequel that, although Part 3 started it, this one really capitalized on the comedy, really turned it into a horror comedy type franchise from here on out. So, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 is still my favorite sequel out of the series, other than the original film being my favorite. So, next, coming in at number 4, we have Dawn of the Dead, which is my favorite zombie film of all time, 1978 classic. Coming, after the hype and coming after the popularity, I guess you would say, of the original Night of the Living Dead, which I do love, but this is my favorite zombie film of all time, my favorite out of the Dead trilogy. Day of the Dead's great, too. We had a few more. If we did a top 15 list, Day of the Dead would make it, but Dawn of the Dead just had to be in this list, coming in at number 4. Love this one, guys. George A. Romero's is zombies, basically. I mean, he created the original zombie, and what we all know and love as zombies. And what I love about this one is the mall setting. The mall setting is fantastic. I love how the film feels very lenient, but it also feels so open that it feels like anything's possible for these characters. And I just love when they're roaming around the mall with shopping carts. And I love the zombies, although the zombies do look kind of cheesy in this one, and the pie throwing scene and Tom Savini with the machete. Like it's all fun and games. It really is. But there are some very suspenseful and tense moments in this film, and I enjoy the ending. A lot of people didn't like the end to this film. I enjoy the ending. Won't talk about that, but everything leading up I loved as well. Love Flyboy in this movie. Drawing a blank. Let's see. Love Flyboy in this movie and what happens with his character. Ken Faree in this movie does a badass job. Scott H. Reiniger, can't pronounce that name. Galen Ross, David Eames, can't pronounce these people's names for some reason. But 1978 classic. It has an underlying tone, the consumerism and everything within this movie. It's not just about zombies. If you pay close attention to it, if you actually watch the film, and it is very funny at times, and I feel like George A. Romero meant for it to be that way and did that purposely. And it's not the most serious zombie movie of all time, but it is the most fun, very action-packed, very stylish too, guys. The mall's the best part about the movie to me. Like, I love the mall, the setting, everything about the mall to me. When they're, like I said, going through with shopping carts is just a badass scene. Picking stuff off the shelves in the aisles, seeing what they like, and actually building a structure within this mall. Being smart and not letting the zombies find them is really cool as well. Love the characters, all 3 of them. 4 of them. 4 characters until we get a scene with the big biker gang, which is a badass scene too. Very funny though with the pies, but Dawn of the Dead classic. Love that film. So moving in at number 3 here is Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. This one to me